Okay, yeah, here we have section 10.3, arcs and chords. So there's our main ideas and our vocab. Which brings us to theorem 10.2. So if you have a circle or congruent circles, two minor arcs are congruent if and only if their corresponding chords are congruent. The reverse is also true. If the chords are, the arcs are congruent, then the chords are congruent. So here, if AB segment is congruent to CD segment, then arc AB is congruent to arc CD, and vice versa. If arc AB is congruent to arc CD, then segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Okay, just a couple more definition words here. Inscribed and circumscribed. So inscribed means inside. So this polygon is inside the circle. So it is inscribed, and its corners lie on the circle. The circle is circumscribed because it goes around. Now, for inscribed and circumscribed, the circle has to contain all the corners. So you can't have one corner sticking out here and coming back. That would not be inscribed anymore. All right, so example 1 here, a regular octagon is inscribed in a circle. It's part of a stained glass art piece. Its opposite vertices are connected by line segments. What is the measure of the angle ACB? So I'm going to find that measure. Now this is an octagon, so I need to figure out how much each wedge is. So a circle has 360 degrees. An octagon has 8 wedges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means each wedge is 45 degrees. Angle AOB is 3 of them. So, 45 degrees times 3 is equal to 135 degrees. All right, so theorem 10.3 states that if you have either a diameter, in this case BA, or a radius CA, that is perpendicular to a chord, in this case TV, then it bisects the chord and also bisects the arc. So in this figure, TU and UV are congruent, as are arcs TA and arc AV, because the radius / diameter is perpendicular to the chord. Now be careful, the reverse isn't true. Just because these are perpendicular does not mean that the chord cuts the radius in half. That's not true. It can be true, doesn't have to be true though. Okay, so we have example 2. Circle O has a radius of 13 inches, so I can actually label that dashed line as 13, because I know the radius. Radius OB is perpendicular to chord CD, which is 24 inches long, which means that CX is 12 and XD is 12, because the radius cuts the chord in half. If the measure of arc CD is 134, so from there to there is 134, find the measure of arc CB. Well, the radius cuts the chord in half, so the measure of arc CB is equal to 134 divided by 2, which is 67. So that's 67, and that is 67. Now the last part we're here where it says find OX. If you look here, I'll draw over it in pen, there, and there, and there makes a right triangle. So now I'm looking for that piece right there. Since it's a right triangle, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So x squared plus 144 is equal to 169. X squared is equal to 25. X is 5. Now when you set up this triangle, the radius is always the value for c. It's always the longest side. All right, so 10.4 here. 2 chords are congruent if they're equidistant from the center. Now if and only if means that the reverse is also true. So the chords are congruent if they're the same distance from the center, and then if they're the same distance from the center, then they are congruent. So you can go both forwards and backwards, which lets you do things like this, where you have double figures. So if the radius of circle G is 26, which means I can label FG as 26 and AG as 26, because they are both radii. Find AC, which is the full length there, and DE, which is that part there. Now, because these are equidistant from the center, AB and BC and ED and FE are all equal to each other. So I'm going to find this little piece there, and then use that to get everything else. Once again, there's a right triangle, so A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So once again, the radius is the hypotenuse. So that's 100 plus X squared is equal to 676. So X squared is 576. So X is the square root of that, which is 24. So all these pieces are 24. So AC is that and that, so it's going to be 48 because it's two pieces. And DE is just one piece, so it will be 24. And that is the end of the section.